everybody. How are you? Happy Thursday, everyone. I am so excited to be back with you tonight, and we are going to have a lot of fun tonight. I wanted to welcome everyone who's watching on Instagram. Drop a comment here and let me know where you're watching from, or at least say hi so I know you're here. And then everyone who is watching from Facebook and YouTube, go ahead and drop a little comment and let me know that you're here so I can welcome you. Hi, Kimmy. How are you? It's great to see you back. And I know that it takes a couple minutes for the algorithms to kind of kick in. So, so it's so cool to be back with you guys tonight. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to take some questions, and then I'm also going to do a little quiz. We're going to check your knowledge on holistic health options that you can use with your cat. So I'm hoping this will be interesting for you, and get your pen and paper out, take some notes, and let's see how many things you can implement that you learned today. So, yay! And Bayla is here from Vancouver. I hope it's a lot cooler up there than it is where I am. And Lorna's here also from BC. Oh my goodness, I have a lot of Canadians in the house. Y'all are representing well tonight. Yay. So what about everybody else? Where are you guys watching from? And start to think about questions that you have, and you can start dropping them in the comments, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to support you guys, answer your questions, how you can best support your cats, give you some ideas, suggestions, ways that we can be empowered as cat parents and use some or apply some holistic approaches to your cat's health or behavior or whatever it is that you guys are going through at this time. So it is Thursday, August the 3rd. I do not even know how we are in August already. So, oh my gosh, the summer has just gone flying by, although it's super hot. So I don't know how the weather is where you guys are. I don't think we've had any rain here in Central Texas in at least 2 months. And I'm not kidding. It's been so dry and it's so hot. So anyway, so okay, Kimmy, I know you're excited about tonight. Let me know if you have any specific questions that you would like covered. And we will dive in. Give just a few more seconds here and people can hop on. And I'm going to get my little quiz ready for you guys that we'll do some of that as we go as well. So I want you guys to learn. I just want to share some really cool things that I think you can just kind of put aside when you need it. You can pull it out, and hopefully it gives you some ideas. So tell me, did you guys have any wins this week? Like, what did you do? Would anything cool happen with your cat? Did you make some progress with something? Share those wins, because it does encourage other people who might be facing the similar type of challenge, and encourage them to try something or give them some just general encouragement. So let us know. Okay, I'm going to say hi to some people over here on Instagram. So Rafi Hater. So hello. I'm going to start waving at you guys. So I appreciate you guys coming in today. Again, if this is your first time and you have never dropped in before on a live Q&A with me, my name is Pam. I am the founder and CEO of Purrrfectly Holistic, and I have a passion for helping empower you, the cat parent, to apply and learn holistic approaches that you can try with your cat to, whether that be for physical, emotional, behavior, spiritual issues, whatever it might be. We have a ton of resources. And so a lot of the times we just aren't aware of them, right? That was me probably, 15, 16 years ago when I was struggling with my own cat's issues, and there were multiple cats having issues. So, it's just one of those things that you live and learn, know how to do better, right? So I want to say hi to Kim on Instagram. How are you? Thank you guys for jumping in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dive in. I don't see any questions yet, so be thinking about questions. If you guys have some questions, drop them in the comments, and I will definitely be looking at those as we go through. Okay, so I want to do a little quiz. I'm going to kind of spread this out a little bit and maybe mix in between questions if you guys have any questions you want me to answer. Okay, so I love using all different kinds of modalities with cats, whether that be, emotional issues, physical issues, different kinds of symptoms. So I've pulled together several different topics, if you will, and some things that I can share with you. And I want you to get your thinking caps on because I want you to respond. So this is going to be a question, a Q&A. I'm going to ask you questions too, and you can drop your answers in the comments. So, okay, let me say hello to some other people here. So K-Bell MTBC from Instagram, how are you? Thank you for jumping in. Okay, so while you are thinking of your questions, I'm going to ask you some. So I deal a lot with emotional stuff with cats, right? So if you haven't seen some of the recent roundtable events or radio shows about emotional stuff that we deal with cats and behavior, I want you to go to my YouTube channel and check those out. I'm going to talk specifically right now about anxious, nervous cats. Does anybody out there have an anxious, nervous kitty who maybe has anxiety issues, whether it's be, just, I don't know, strangers coming into your home or weather related anxiety, things like that? Maybe it's introductions with a new cat in the house. So I want you to be thinking about nervous, anxious cats, okay? And if you don't have a nervous, anxious cat on some level right now, write these down because you never know. You might meet someone who does, or you might eventually have one yourself. So, hey, Teresa Smith from Knoxville, how are you? It's good to see you here too. Okay, so I want you to think nervous, anxious cat. Okay. I teach color therapy and I use color therapy a lot in energy healing services and as far as recommendations for supporting our kitties. So if you had a nervous, anxious type cat, you can use color as therapy, and it's not the actual color that they can see with their eyes because cats can be limited in the colors that they can actually visually see. But you have to remember that color is all about frequency. It's the vibrational frequency that color gives off, and the cat's bodies sense that energy. So it's a form of energy, right? So I want you to just be aware that they don't have to actually see the color, but it's the energy, the frequency that they can take in, and that can help calm them. So your first question on my quiz is name a color or colors that you can use to support a nervous, anxious cat. So drop your answers in the comments, and then I'll give you a couple seconds here, and then I will tell you the answers. I will tell you what I would use in situations like that. Kimmy has a great question. While you guys are thinking about the answer to my question to the quiz, Kimmy says, do you feel that cats are like humans and that they retain their trauma in their fascia like we do? Absolutely 100%. And not only do they retain it in the deep connective tissue like we all do, but they retain these emotions in organs, glands, and tissues in the body. And those emotions are imprinted, like chemically imprinted into the cells. So, yes, the answer is yes, they certainly can. And fortunately, they don't have to stay there. There are so many wonderful energy healing modalities that you can use. The one that I use every day is Mind, Body, Spirit Release, and it identifies and uncovers those emotional blocks, and so that we can release that trauma, and then just the body can calm down and clear all those memories. So, okay, so Bayla says pink, mint green, yellow for calm or nervous, anxious cats. Anybody else? Drop a comment in here. Tell me what color you think you would use for a nervous, anxious cat. I want to see some answers here. Go ahead. I'll wait. Drop the comments. Even if you don't really know, if you're just like guessing, take a guess, and then I'll tell you why. Take the answers. Hi, Renee. Nice to see you. And Lorna said, okay, blue is a color that's dropping in. Anybody on Instagram? What do you guys think? What color would you use for a nervous, anxious cat? Anybody else? Anybody going once? Going twice. It's not that hard. Just drop a color. Even if it's a guess, drop a color. And then I'll tell you what I would use. One more second. 3, 2, 1. Hi, Rose. Okay, so nervous, anxious cats would do best with the color purple. Purple is great for anxiety and nervousness. So that is the first color I would go with. It also correlates to the crown chakra, purple, okay, which is it's all about receiving that intuition, right? For the people and I guess the pet too. You could look at that. But purple is awesome for nerves and anxiety. You could use green. Green can be very grounding. So if you have an animal that's like kind of all over the place and they just can't seem to get settled, maybe it's not anxiety, maybe it's something else, but green would be a good grounding color. And I would use baby blue if it was a fearful situation. So, but not necessarily nervous and anxiety. Let's say if you had a cat that was just kind of pacing, and they just looked a little nervous and they're looking over their shoulder. Maybe there was a workman in your home and they're a little put off by the presence of a stranger and they're kind of worried and they're looking around, or they're just acting not themselves. I would throw out the color purple. So, good job. Okay. Second part of this question for anxious and nervous cats. We're going to talk about crystals. So what crystal, can you think of a crystal that you would use to support a nervous, anxious cat? And Allie Phillips, if you are here, you can't answer because you would give away the answers. No, just kidding. If you're here, definitely drop in the answers. So nervous, anxious cat, what crystals or crystal would you try first? Anybody have any thoughts or ideas? Go ahead, drop them in the comments. Some of you may not be very familiar with crystals, but oh my gosh, they're so fun to work with. They have their own vibrational frequency as well. And cats really, really love crystals because they can feel that energy. It's fascinating. I've actually seen it with my own eyes, worked it with my own cats. Renee says rose quartz. Lorna says amethyst. Anybody else on Instagram? Do you guys have any comments, any ideas for crystals that you would use with a nervous, anxious cat? Renee says hematite. Anybody else? Teresa says amethyst. If you said amethyst, you're the winner. That would be my first one because again, it's that purple frequency, right? So hematite is great for like negative emotions when there's a lot of fear and you need to repel a lot of negativity. So it could be supportive. Absolutely. You could try it for sure. Rose quartz would be great for like broken hearts, trauma, resistance to adding new family members into the home. And I'm speaking from experience because I had to use this with my cat Aylin with the new kittens who are around here somewhere. So maybe they'll show up here in a second. But rose quartz was amazing. I saw an instant a shift of her energy after using the rose quartz. Again, not for nervous and anxiety. It was more about opening her heart to accept them. Okay, so good job. Now, what about a flower essence? Have you guys ever used flower essences with your cats? They are kind of like homeopathy. Um, they use flowers, plant matter, and they dilute them um, using sunlight, and it's kind of, they end up with like a homeopathic energy remedy with the essences of the flowers. So it's all energetic once more, but there's certain frequencies once more that you can use for different situations. So if you had a cat who was anxious and nervous and just didn't feel very secure, what any thoughts on the flower essence that you could use or try? So throw it out here in the comments if you guys have any ideas, and then I'll tell you what I would choose. Flower essences aren't as common, and I know that hi carrot seeda. Hello, how are you? Thank you for joining us. There's not a whole, well, there are different lines of flower essences. I tend to go with the Bach flower, but I know that Jackson Galaxy has a whole line of flower essence as well, and it's kind of like combinations. So there are wonderful combinations that you could try. The flower essence, Renee says, I only know of the Rescue Remedy. That's probably one of the most popular. Yes, that's best known for cats. That would be like in a really fearful, stressful situation. Not always effective in like for nerves and anxiety, but you could certainly try it. Lavender is an oil, not a flower essence. That's an essential oil. Valerian is an herb. So I'm specifically talking about flower essences, but yes, those would be great oils and herbs to try. The one that I'm thinking of that I end up recommending quite often is called aspen, and it helps pets feel secure. So there's something about the aspen flower essence that you can use, and if you're not sure how to use a flower essence, basically if you want to create like a remedy, you can put 2 drops of the essence in about 1 ounce of water, like a little treatment bottle, and then fill it up with like a purified water. And that would be your go-to remedy. And then you can just store it in the refrigerator and put 4 drops in their food twice a day. And I like to put 4 drops in my hands and then just pet the cat all over, especially around their face, because remember, all their pheromones are around their mouth and their nose. So I love doing that. So 4 times a day, 4 drops, twice in the food, because it works best if you can take them internally. So get them in them. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments on nervous, anxious cats? You guys are supposed to be asking questions, so bring them on. Okay. So my next question on my quiz for you. Okay. So do you know of a website that you can go online and check to see if there are prevalent allergens or pollens in your area? Drop it in the comments if you have a favorite resource for finding out what is going on in the weather that might be affecting your cat. Again, this is for allergens, pollens, things like that. Do you have a favorite website? Because I do, and I'm going to tell you what mine is that I use. While you're thinking, I'm going to answer Sandy Cat. It says, what would be good for a 19-year-old? In terms of what? What would be good for a 19-year-old? So what's is there a specific concern you're asking about? Or are you talking about flower essences or colors or something like that? If you could be more specific, I can give you a more specific answer. Okay, so I don't see any. Hey, Bonnie on Instagram. How are you? So, Sandy says, I know she must be achy. Flower essence. I don't know about a flower essence off the top of my head, but there's an herb called comfrey that you like dried herbs that you could get. It's for helps for pain. Um, if she is like maybe arthritis kind of conditions, is that what you're referring to? Being 19, she might have a little stiffness and that sort of thing. So helichrysum comes to mind, and um, that could be an essential oil. It could be like the dried herbs. Um, and then the comfrey is great for pain. Again, dried herbs. And not that you're going to feed this to them, but you could put it on a towel in a little pile and just let them go self-select. We call it zoopharmacognosy, so or self-selection. So the animal can go sit by it, they can smell it, and it doesn't have to be very close to them. But as long as they can take that scent in, it travels through their nose right up into crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it can provide immediate relief. So it's fascinating. So those would be some ideas. Um, and depending on, what else is going on, Sandy, maybe just some mobility support. Like there's some wonderful supplements out there that help older cats with mobility issues and provide the glucosamine chondroitin, the MSM. There's a product called Sound Kitty by Herbsmith that I actually carry in my store, and it has even boswellia. It has the MSM, and I think it has some omega-3s. I can't remember the whole list of ingredients, but trying something like a mobility supplement that can help reduce inflammation and support those joints and tissues, it can be wonderful. Okay. And Bayla says, what about an 18-and-a-half-year-old cat with kidney disease? Are you asking for specific flower essence? Are you asking for a specific herb, or be more specific? Oh, no worries. You're welcome, Sandy. Okay, I'm going to take a little quick detour back to my allergen website that I asked you guys to think about. The one that I use a lot, and unfortunately it's continental United States. I don't know what they have in Canada, but I love pollen.com. So write this down, pollen.com. You can go in, type in your zip code, and it will pull up if there's any trees, grasses, weeds, pollens, anything that might be causing, discomfort, respiratory systems, issues, sneezing, itching, hay fever, whatever it might be. Definitely go look at pollen.com because it's pretty awesome. They usually have like the top 3 that might be prevalent in your zip code. But there could be others. It just may not make their cut. So Bayla says dried comfrey can have fine spikes, also called bone set. Use with caution. Yeah, the comfrey that I have is sold by Naturally Cats. Julianne Thorne sources these, and it's in the little bags, and it's just dried herbs. Again, they don't ingest these things typically. They just sit and just take in the aromas, the polyphenols, the terpenes, all those good things. So it's wonderful. Okay, she says a flower essence for an 18-year-old cat with CKD, which is kidney disease. I don't really know of one that's specific for a kidney disease. I would probably support it with more targeted support herbs that support the kidneys, that love the kidneys. I would probably use a humic fulvic acid product because that can help protect the kidney cells. Depending on if the phosphorus levels were high, you might want to add a phosphorus binder, but if they're not, then probably don't have to worry about it. unless it's like stage 3, stage 4 kidney disease. Omega-3 oils would be awesome for a cat with kidney disease. And I have one of the babies here. Come here, Skylar. Hey, you want to see everybody? Come here, baby. Oh, she's so cute. Come here. There she is. Oh my goodness. And she's already purring. Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Say, this is Skylar. And she's 5 months old. Oh my gosh. She's getting so big. I told her the other day, stop growing. Because she's so little and I want her to stay little. Oh my goodness. You going to be good, girl? You're going to be busy. They're so busy. Okay. Thank you. She is so sweet. Okay, going back to questions. Come here, baby girl. Okay, so Renee says, even if there are allergens and grasslands outside, is there anything we can do to help our cats be protected from that? No. You can't prevent the outdoor airflow from coming into your home. Plus, you open and close your door to come and go, right? So my cat's about to knock over my light. Don't knock it over. Oh my gosh, kittens. Anyway, but that said, there are so many ways you can support them systemically for allergy support. And actually, one of those things is on my next list. So maybe your question will get answered here in just a second. So here's a quiz. Okay, everybody listen up. Do you know what the most prevalent allergens are in your area right now? And if so, drop them in the comments. And I'm going to tell you what the most prevalent ones are just generally across the country right now, so that you can just be aware. And things shift seasonally. So in the spring, we see a lot of trees, and then we see like weeds, and then we see grasses, and then we see more pollens. So it kind of shifts throughout the year. Anybody have any thoughts on what is prevalent in your area right now as far as pollens go, or allergens that might be heavy? Because if your cat is struggling with allergy symptoms, this is probably why. Any takers? Bela, what does that mean? We're talking pollens. Okay, so the most prevalent allergens right now are plantain, nettle, grasses, chinnopods, which is a weed, dock, which is another weed, and ragweed. In some areas, I've found trace pollens. It's like a conglomeration of all these different pollens that have accumulated and they're kind of on the way out. So mixed trace can show up. I've seen it show up a lot in July. Though there's one tree that if you are in the California area, I think it's Southern California area, juniper is now blooming or coming onto the radar as far as causing some stress. So anything like that. So if your cat, which now leads me to my next question, quiz, I'm going to talk about homeopathy for allergies. So here's a question. I want you to drop some ideas for remedies if you have any ideas or what you think you would use for these specific allergy symptoms. If you had a cat who was itching because ragweed is off the charts where you live, or nettle or plantain, something like that, what remedy would you use to help them get some relief? So drop your answers in the comments, and then I'll tell you the answer. Let's see if anybody gets it. So what remedy would you choose? What homeopathic remedy if the cat was itching due to allergens? Hey, Daniel. DQ's here. Nice to see you. Anybody else? Bonnie says sulfur. Sulfur. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Going once, going twice. No? Okay. The first one I would check is Arnica urens. Artica urens is awesome if your cat is itching due to allergens in the air. It can also, let me give you a little hint. So if they go outside even and they're walking in the grass a lot and they're licking their feet, or they seem to be licking their belly a little bit, or their legs, it could be because they have those allergens on their fur. Arnica urens is like the first go-to. It's the most common. The second one could be sulfur. It really depends on the symptoms. What are symptoms? Like, what are you guys? So for every allergy symptom has a specific remedy that you could use. Okay. Apis, not so much apis, because apis is more for allergic reactions. So if you are having hives and whelps break out, that would be an apis. Ignatia, Amara, I don't know. I have never found that to resonate with anything allergy related so far. Let's see. But the first one for sure, I mean, if Artica urens does not resolve the issue, then you can try sulfur for sure, especially if there's like organophosphates, which is like chemical herbicide kind of stuff that's in the air that can cause allergic reactions, not like hives, like breaking out with welts and stuff, but itching, then sulfur would be a great one to try. If you had allergies with sneezing, which remedy would you guys use? If I had the Jeopardy music, I'd be playing it. I don't. So allergies, symptoms with sneezing, which remedy would you use? Go ahead and drop some ideas. And if you've never used homeopathy for allergies, you just, like I said before, get your pen and paper and start writing these down so that you are prepared. And I'll tell you how to prepare a remedy in a second. So histamine, Bayla says histamine. This is for sneezing. Best one for sneezing. Calcarea. Bonnie says calc. Anybody else? Anybody going once? Hi, Janet. Nice to see you. Bayla says nat myrrh. Anybody else? Any other ideas? These are great, right? These are great ideas. Okay. All right. So if the best remedy to use with sneezing is arsenicum album. Okay. If you had sneezing with sinus congestion, a little stuffiness, then you would use nat myrrh. So do you see the distinction? Nat myrrh is great for a little sinus congestion, but you're also sneezing. Okay. So that's what I would use. Welcome. I find it beautiful. Thank you for joining us. We're having a quiz and I'm answering questions. Okay, one more. For allergy symptoms, what would you use for allergies with runny eyes? And you drop it in here. Drop answers. Even if you're not sure, but you've tried different remedies, just drop it in. Allergy symptoms with like watery eyes, goopy eyes, things like that. What would you use? Any takers? Any takers? Anybody? Anybody out there? Brianna, she says. Anybody else? I love it, Bayla, when you're just answering all the questions. I love it. Okay, Janet says, what was the question? What homeopathic remedy would you use for allergy symptoms with runny eyes? That's the question. Okay. Here's the homeopathic remedy that you would use. It's called euphrasia. Euphrasia is eye bright. So eyes, eye bright, euphrasia. So that's the one you would use if your cat had allergy symptoms and let's say their eyes were just runny. It's a histamine release, right? So they're just irritated, maybe they're red. And again, these remedies could be for you or your pet. So you don't have to be just limited to just your cat. You can write these down for you. Structured silver, I wouldn't use that. I mean, number one, that's not really it's not a homeopathic remedy that we're talking about, but I understand why you said it. You can start if you feel like there's like a bacterial type infection going on, you can certainly put a drop of structured silver into the eyes, not a problem. That can clear up the bacteria. But just for dealing with the allergy symptoms that affect the eyes, euphrasia is your go-to. All right. So, any other questions from you guys before I go on to my next quiz question? Anybody else? Janet, do you have any cat questions? She's a dog mama, so that's why I asked her that. Okay, so Tony says, what kinds of foods would be good for a wood personality older cat? Just thought about trying some of the green juju products. Well, first of all, green juju is fantastic. Their formulators, the owner of their company plus Billy Hoekman is, yeah, I mean, you can't get a better team. So their products are top notch. I personally do not know of a food type that a wood personality for an older cat, whether older or younger, wood personality is a wood personality. That's a traditional Chinese medicine element, Chinese medicine philosophy. Let me see if I have any ideas. You know, the person who would really know that, and you might find a blog on her website, is Dr. Judy Morgan. So if you haven't checked her out lately, or maybe send them a message on Facebook or Instagram and ask that. That's an awesome question. I have not done any deep dives personally yet on foods for the element types, but I know Dr. Judy has, so that would be awesome. There's a recommendation over here. It says turkey small batch. Small batch is a great brand. So maybe more of a cooling proteins. Turkey is cooling depending on who you talk to, but that's what I've always been taught. Bayla says, how do you get a cat to leave you alone at night so you can sleep? Well, first of all, you have to figure out why they're keeping you awake. Is it emotional? Is it a physical issue? Is it they're hungry? Is it they want to play? It really depends on if use your best intuition and start ruling out or ruling in things. So if you fed them before bed, you know it's not food, they're not hungry. If you've had a play session like late night before you go to bed, keeping him up more during the day and making him play can help keep him, sleeping longer. And if it's not those, then it's probably an emotional thing. So maybe some energy work can help identify some emotional blocks. Maybe there's emotional stress in the home that the cat's picking up on. I have a cat client who would wake up his owner at like 4 in the morning, just cry, 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 cry. And the energies healing session revealed that he felt so overwhelmed from all of the emotional stress in the home that the owner was going through at the time. And so the cat was just vocalizing. and expressing that. And, cats are crepuscular. They will get up between 3 and 5 in the morning because that's how they're wired biologically. So that's why they like to get up at that time of day and they start to play, because if their wild cousins would get up about that time of day and start hunting, right? So that's why they like to get up so early and play. Now, of course, you could always take the golf balls away and, put them up at night so that you can't get them. Give them a soft mouse toy instead of golf balls. That would be my first suggestion. But it might be an emotional thing, or it might just be boredom. Like, you know what? I'm tired of sleeping and it's dark and I feel like the hunter, and so I'm going to sit here and bat these balls around and entertain myself. So you may have to do a little bit more digging to find the underlying reason why the behavior is doing that. So let me see what else. I want to make sure I answer. Don't miss anybody. I also want to say hi to Lita Powerful Silver 2. Thank you for coming. Let me look over here. Okay. Tony says, would the green juju greens be good to add to the diet? Yeah. I mean, greens are loaded with phytonutrients and nutrition. So like you can't go wrong for sure. And depending on what else is in it, it might be, don't quote me because I haven't looked specifically at that product, but it might also provide a little bit of fiber. So absolutely. I mean, you would start with probably a pinch and just mix it into the food and see how that goes. So it would certainly be worth a shot. I think so. I would try it. Okay, I'm going to move on to emotions since we were kind of talking about emotions. On my quiz for you guys, first of all, did you know that, and I kind of said earlier, did you know that the body stores emotions? And if you did you know that the body can also emit those emotions? So there are certain organs, glands, and tissues that can not only store them, but they can express them as well. So we're going to go through several of the organs of the body and glands, and I'm going to ask you some questions of which emotions are actually stored or emitted from these organs. And you don't even have to know, but I just want you to be thinking about this because I find it fascinating. So we're going to start with the heart. So even if you're not sure, throw out some suggestions, some emotions that you think could possibly be stored in the heart. Okay. And then I'll tell you what my list is when you're done guessing. I'm going to tell you what they are. So throw out some ideas. Heart. What emotions are stored and emitted in the heart? Go ahead. I'll wait. I'm looking at my list over here. Throw out some ideas. Even if it's wrong, who cares? It's all about learning, right? Anybody have any ideas? Bayless is sadness. Heart. Fear. Stress is just a general. Let's be real specific. So think of a specific emotion that could be stored in the heart. Okay. Lorna says loss, affection, fear. Any other ideas? Y'all are throwing out some good ones. Loss. Anybody on Instagram? Throw out some ideas. Okay, you give up? Love, of course. Okay. So this list is typically the negative emotions because that's what brings our vibrational frequency down. So yes, there's a lot of wonderful, happy vibe emotions, but I should have clarified, like the negative, low frequency, low vibe emotions. Okay. Abandonment. Star for Teresa. Yes. So abandonment is one that is stored in the heart. Guilt. Guilt is stored in the heart. Betrayed. Disappointed. Heartache. Like, right? Like, why did I think about heartache? It's in the heart. Lonely. Being lonely is in the heart. Unforgiveness. Yearning and victimized. Also, lack of joy is stored in the heart. So, how many of you guys knew any of those? Teresa, you got this gold star for abandonment. Yay. Probably because one of your cats had that, right? I forget. But yeah, no, anger is not stored in the heart, but that's a good guess. Okay, so moving on to the next emotion, the next organ, kidneys. Which emotions are stored in the kidneys? Throw out your ideas. Then I'll tell you what they are. Give you a couple seconds. Drop some ideas in the comments. Betsy says fear. Renee says fear. Sandy says anger. Fear. Anything else? This is all kidneys. Think kidneys. Okay. Because this might also give you guys some insight into some of your cat's behaviors and any emotional states that they're going through. Okay. And it might correlate, like you might have that aha moment connecting it with conditions that they're suffering from. Okay. So I find it beautiful. It says loss. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Okay, here's the list for kidneys. Fear is a biggie, big one for sure. Fright, powerlessness, deep exhaustion, dread, and feeling insecure. So those are all the emotions that are stored in the kidneys and emitted from the kidneys. So if the body is feeling that emotion that is stored there, they can actually give off that emotion as well. So they can take it in from their environment and from their experience and store it there chemically, and they can emit it as well. So the next organ is the liver. Throw out some ideas of emotions that the liver holds and emits. Okay. This is the liver. And for those of you who have studied a little bit of the Chinese medicine, this might come easy for you on this one. So throw out some ideas. So Tony says anger. What else? Those are a good one. Any other ideas for the liver? Think of like common expressions we use. Betsy says grief, worry, sadness. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Irritability. Anybody else? Okay, you ready? Anger is for sure stored in the liver. Frustration, irritability. Good job, Renee. Toxic. If their body is feeling toxic, their liver is toxic. Okay, toxic liver. Depressed. So depression can be stored here. Critical, being very critical. Rage, which is a degree of anger, but like on steroids, right? So rage and being dissatisfied, and you could say that unhappy, dissatisfied. Those are all liver emotions. Okay, you guys are doing great. Now, next one is large intestines. Throw out some ideas for emotions that are stored or emitted in the large intestines. Any ideas, any thoughts? Think about the processes that the large intestines, the colon does. That might give you some ideas. So throw out some ideas. I hope you guys are finding this interesting. I find it fascinating because I deal with emotional stuff every day with cats and with people. And it's so interesting what we can release and uncover when we look at the correlation between the organs and emotions. So, any ideas for, okay, Teresa says aggression and rejection, toxicity, anxiety. Anybody else? You guys are doing really good. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay. Here's a list, and it's a long list. Anxiety. Perfectionistic is stored in the large intestines, as well as being uptight, anxiety, controlling, insecurity, not letting go, not following through, feeling unworthy, incompletion, and procrastination. And a little side note here, whenever I'm working with a client and procrastination in large intestines comes up, guess what else is typically something that they're dealing with? Constipation. So those cross over a lot. Okay. Incompletion tends to go hand in hand with like soft stools, diarrhea, things like that. Like their body is not able to complete the digestive process. So those can correlate. So yeah, some of these organs will share emotions, like the kidney had insecure and large intestine insecurity. So very, very similar emotions. Okay, just a few more here. Let's go to lungs. Throw out some ideas of emotions that you think would be associated with the lungs. Okay. And I saw one of these earlier. Let's see if she puts it back in here. But the lungs, think about that. What do you think? Renee says grief. Grief, yes, good ideas. Toxicity, anything else? Any other ideas? Think of what lungs do. Sadness. Anything else? Anybody? Those are great ideas. Anxiety, those are good ideas. Okay. You're going to, when I read this off, you're going to go, oh, of course. Okay. Grief is definitely one of them. Sadness. So good job to you guys who said those two. Feeling invalidated is also in the lungs. Feeling smothered is in the lungs. Feeling suffocated is in the lungs. Are you having these aha moments like, oh, isolated, unworthiness, and intolerant? So I find it so interesting how emotions can cause us to feel suffocated, overwhelmed, right? Some lungs are intolerant of breathing certain things. So it's just a reflection of that emotion. So I find that very fascinating. Okay, moving on quickly to skin. What emotions can the skin emit and store? Throw out your ideas. And think about how your skin feels when it's not happy. That should be a clue. Okay. Throw out some ideas. Skin. Emotions and skin. Renee says shame. Anybody else? Come on, you guys are great. Toxicity. Skin. You're going to have one of these aha moments here in a second. Anybody else? Skin. Anger. Okay, here's a list. Unprotected Because what does your skin do? It protects you, it protects your internal self, right? Is your outer layer. So it protects what's underneath. So unprotected, threatened, insecurity, there's that word again, insecurity, irritated, which is a degree of anger, Tony, so good job, and vulnerable. So if we feel vulnerable, we feel unprotected, right? So our skin, depending on what's going on with us, it might feel vulnerable, irritated, insecurity. We might feel threatened or unprotected. So those are all the emotions associated with skin. Now, let's go to stomach. Stomach. Throw out some ideas for stomach. What emotions do the stomach hold or emit? And we're focusing more on the negative low vibration that drops your resonance, because you can always have the happy emotions are the happy uplifting vibes that don't really bring you down. So think the opposite for today's where it's stored. Okay. So I've got some nervousness. Anybody else? Happiness, nervousness. And this is stomach. Okay. What else? I've got a good list over here. What else can you think of? Sick. That's not an emotion. Well, depending on your on what dictionary you look up, right? Anger. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Okay, you ready? Disgust. Think about your cat who turns his nose up to food because he's like, ugh, disgust, right? Disgust. Anxiety. When can you not eat? When you have butterflies in your stomach, right? When you're nervous, when you're upset, anxiety, your stomach just can't do it. Too high demands on you. It's just too much. That's in the stomach. Not able to process. Hello, that's when we have vomiting and tummy upsets. Not able to process. And disappointment, which I can also say unhappy, disappointed, disappointment, unhappy. So all of those emotions are in the stomach. And just a couple more to go. Okay, moving on real quick to thyroid gland. So do you guys have any ideas for what emotions are stored in the thyroid? Throw them out. It's quite a few. Think throat chakra. That might give you some clues. Okay. Think about where that gland is located and what goes on in this area. Trying to give you guys clues. Okay, so thyroid. Thyroid. These are emotions that are stored or emitted from the thyroid gland. Anybody else? Renee says powerlessness, voicelessness, inability to speak truth. Those are awesome. Awesome. Any other ideas? You guys got to work a little harder. Put those thinking caps on. Okay, here's a list. Silenced. Good job, Renee. Humiliated. Inhibited. Choked up. Repressed. Lack of self-expression. Feeling depleted. Indecisive. And not being heard. So that correlates with that throat chakra, right? Of not being able to communicate your truth, not being able to speak up because you feel repressed. You can't express yourself. A thyroid issues, and oftentimes there's a deficiency of something, or it feels depleted. Indecisive, kind of wishy-washy. You think about someone who can't make up their mind. and just being silenced, So all of those are emotions that come with the thyroid gland. Okay, and then I'm going to do one more, and this is small intestines. Small intestines, and it's not a very long list, but I think it's kind of important. Small intestines, throw out some ideas. Like, what do you think would be stored in the small intestines? They list as being shut down, or was that for thyroid? Maybe that was for thyroid. I didn't see it. So small intestines. Any ideas? This is your last one on my quiz. No takers. You guys have been doing so great. Okay. The small intestines stores lonely. It stores abandoned, guilt, self-doubt, and unvalued. So you could rephrase unvalued as of no value, of no benefit. Self-doubt could be that, not having any confidence. So like a scaredy cat who's always nervous. So that could be one of those emotions. If there's abandonment, it's stored here. I see unvalued a whole lot in correlation to stuff that they take into their body that's of no benefit or value, like vaccines, like biotoxins, like glyphosate, like dry kibble, like sugars. I'm talking about cats. Like heavy metals, herbicides, flea medications, things like that that's going in their bodies or on their bodies that are providing no benefit whatsoever. And it affects the small intestines because a lot of times that's where digestion, that is where digestion takes place. And it's also the immune system. So you can see immune issues, you can see digestive issues based on what stressors we're putting in or putting on. And those are the emotions that organ is, it's having an opinion about it. So I find it fascinating. So anyway, yeah, Sandy, emotions are hard. They are, but I just want to bring a whole new level of awareness because so many times our cats might be going through something and have physical symptoms, and we just think it's a physical problem. But you have to remember that there's always an emotional component to an illness or a condition. And when you look at the body from a multi-dimensional kind of perspective, you've got the physical layer, and then around that you have emotional level emotions, you have spiritual. Okay, so things that come in are always going to affect the aura first before they affect physical. So it's important to remember that things that happen to our cats, to us emotionally, spiritually, will affect the body on a physical level eventually. So it has to go through those layers to get to the body itself. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed the quiz. Next time you bring more questions than I bring for you, okay? So anyway, does anybody have any final thoughts or questions before we wrap it up? I don't want to keep you guys. I just really appreciate you being here, and know that you can reach out if you have questions. And one more thing before we go, I am doing a research project on cats with feline hyperesthesia symptoms. Maybe they have a diagnosis, maybe they don't. Maybe you just have a twitchy cat. Maybe you have a jumpy cat. Maybe you have skin rippling or any combination of symptoms like that, and you're just not sure. So I want to develop a program to support those cat parents in helping them to support their cat. And so I'm just doing research. If you know of anybody, if you are one of those pet parents that I could have about 30 minutes of your time and just go through a series of questions that's part of my research project, drop me a direct message or put a reply in here in these comments, and I'll look at it and I'll send you a meeting link, and we can set aside a time to just chat, because I would really, really appreciate it. It's a huge project, but I think there's such a huge gap in that area that needs help. So Teresa says, anything to help a cat with early PKD. Remind me what PKD is, because I don't remember. I'm used to seeing CKD, but not PKD. And Tony says, any essential oil other than lavender that would help emotions? Jasmine, honeysuckle, yarrow, valerian. Let me think. Depending on what's going on, maybe angelica root, if they feel ungrounded and they're just fearful and all of that, maybe angelica root. Emotions. So those would be some good ones to start with. Violet leaf. There was one more. Linden flowers can be really nice too. Okay, so she says polycystic kidney disease. Gosh, I haven't seen that term in so long. Obviously, it's a type of kidney disease. Do you know what caused it? Is it from poor diet? Is it from toxins? Do we know any history on how it developed? Because I would probably treat it, not me, I'm not treating anything, but if I had a cat with that condition, I would probably support it the way I would do any other kidney disease cat. They get bumps on the kidney, hereditary. Okay, so genetic. Okay. I would support with all these amazing herbs that the kidneys love. I would use a humic fulvic acid like ion gut support, because it protects the integrity of the kidney cells, and that's vital. Those nephrons are fragile. Support the liver, because if we're not supporting the liver, then all the toxins have to go through the kidneys to be filtered. So we want to have that. We want to make sure we're supporting the liver all the time with that. And let's see, omega-3s for helping to, reduce inflammation and provide those essential fatty acids. I would definitely use that. And then like any kind of wonderful herb, like antioxidants, mushrooms. I'm sure there's some mushrooms that the kidneys would love that would help that, as well as like Standard Process has a kidney support chewable, and Pet Wellbeing has the kidney support gold. So, something like that the kidneys absolutely love. I would definitely use that, as well as a humic fulvic acid to help protect the cells. And then diet, So one of the things that we can remember or just keep in mind is that depending on how we support that body, those genes can be upregulated or downregulated. So they can be expressed or they can not be expressed. So I would do a little digging probably on the PubMed, all the research journals, and see if there's any studies on cats with PKD, and if there's specific herbs or other kinds of supplements that can help support that. That's probably where I would start. But nutrition, I don't think you can go wrong with doing the best wet species appropriate diet that you can possibly do for that. Does that help? And Tony says, can you use frankincense with cats? You absolutely can. If you're going to use an essential oil, you could literally just unscrew the cap and place it this far away from the cat, not far. They can smell that oil. In some cases, you don't even have to unscrew the cap. They can still smell the oil. I wouldn't put it on topically. But Yeah, I mean, just from an aromatherapy point of view, absolutely. I know that there are veterinary formulated oils like Animalio by Dr. Melissa Shelton, and she has her formulations, which are awesome. She has her way of applying them, and I know in some cases, you know, there's some oils you can use topically. I am not trained in that, so I don't want to say that, you know, do that or don't do that, but I'm just, from what I have learned, you can just use it aromatically, and they're so powerful because it's an oil that through the inhalation alone, those molecules go again straight up through the nose, cross the blood-brain barrier, and get straight into the blood. So it can be super effective just like that. So anyway, I think that's all I have. You guys have been awesome. If thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next month. So I can't believe September, but I'll see you guys in September for another Q&A. Start writing down your questions, and maybe we'll have another quiz next month too. So have a great evening, you guys, and take care. We'll see you next time.